Hey.
Good afternoon.
Fantastic stuff to be able to. We're trying things a little different. Last time we had 3. This time we're going to have 2. This time we have 2 of the 3 amigos. We'll talk a little bit about the name there in a second. But let's fire right into this one, because the big news of the day obviously is the event center, arena, whatever you want to call it. We finally have pen to paper, signatures signed. You guys good with this?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Why?
Well, do you want to go ahead or you want me to?
Sure, yeah, I can go first. And first of all, Joe, everybody knows that I voted no to the West Village. Initially, just arena deal. I think that's a very bad deal, because the city have to spend a lot of money on remediation of the land, up to $800 million, and then not much return. And in this case, is different. Event center, we just need like everybody understand, any big mall, you need an anchor tenant. In this case, could be anything, but in this case, it's the arena. And because the event center, we get a lot of uplift around the arena, and that city owns. The difference is Edmonton, one person owns it, right? In Calgary, we own it. We can uplift the tax increase. And also, we also get the naming rights, some of it, and also the tax, property tax on the retail side of it. So there's a lot of uplifting. And then there's like, people say, is the glass half empty or half full? The way I look at it in this case is half full, because the other half is filled up by a private business.
Councillor Magliocca.
Yeah, and like, it's going to create thousands of jobs, first of all. And second of all, we're back on the map for talent to come back to Calgary. And having a new event center, it's really going to put us on the map again. And I think it's a good thing, win situation for all of Calgary and probably for Alberta.
Councillor Chu, you made mention of the West Village idea. Would you have liked to see something similar, although be it for the East Village? And the reason I ask is a lot of people are asking, hey, we need a replacement for McMahon down the line at some point too. That thing's older than the Dome right now. Why couldn't we have done something similar, bigger scale, one facility for our, like, be that hub of activity, including a football field or a what was the term? The outdoor field, or even an indoor field for that matter, the field house idea.
There's your field house, yes. First of all, you got to have the land.
Right.
You know, if we put the field house in East Village, what about other development? Like we heard, there's other hotels, big chain hotels. They're already asking, kicking the tires, can we come in? So we have to show, like Councillor Joe Magliocca said, we have to show the world that we are open for business.
Any thoughts?
No, I agree with you. You heard the commissioner of the CFL said maybe it might be the last Grey Cup that we're going to have here in Calgary. So you know what? And that's just goes to show you. Like now with the new event center, we're going to have maybe all-star games here now. We can have a championship game here and World Cup hockey. And the field house, you know, maybe an NFL team can come play some exhibition games here. I have no idea.
I mean, they talked about it in Regina, so why wouldn't they talk about it here, right?
But hey, it's
got to be a matter of dreaming big at the end of the day, right? Yeah. Walk us through what you'd like to see happen next with this facility and with the hub in particular, because I think that's being overlooked in all of this conversation. Is hey, it's more than just the arena aspect of it. You've got the BMO Center expansion. You have everything else that's going on down there as well.
Yeah, so I don't know if you've ever been the ICE district in Edmonton. And Joe and I went there 2-3 years ago when the arena just done. And the land around it was basically field, nothing. It's empty, right? And then the last few months ago, we went there. And it was totally different story. There's people walking everywhere. Joe, remember that?
Bars, yeah.
The restaurant, everything's on the go. So that's something we want to do, but on our turn, because we own the land. We want to uplift and create some place people can go to, create some place people make an investment. Like we, you know, being a fiscal conservative doesn't mean that we have to say no all the time to everything. We have to say yes sometimes on the return on investment. In this one, there is the case, return on investment.
I'm going to continue this conversation in a second. We got to take a look at helicopter traffic here on Calgary Today. The second edition of the YYC Roundtable continuing here on Calgary Today. Last time around, we had 3 councillors in. This time, 2. We're just kind of messing with things, seeing what works, what doesn't, and continue this going on into the new year. Councillors Joe Magliocca and Sean Chu joining us here on the program. And Councillor Magliocca, before we took a look at the traffic update, we were talking about the event center arena discussion. And one of the points that keeps being brought up every time those words are brought up is, okay, we can afford to give millionaires a big playpen now. What about those of us who need transit? You know, Green Line has become a big hot button topic lately. Why is it that this project fits the bill, but something like Green Line doesn't, or doesn't seem to be getting as much traction as this one seemed to get?
Well, that's pretty easy. They're installing the Green Line where there was no ridership. Like, I remember when I first got elected, they were talking about the Green Line, and at the time, Jason Kennedy and Michelle Rempel gave him a big check saying, we're going to do 42 kilometers for about $5 billion, $6 billion. And today, there's not even a kilometer of track laid down yet. And the ridership is in the north side. Now, we've been talking about that, myself, Councillor Jody and Sean Chu, and if it goes north, I don't have an issue with that because the ridership's going to pay for itself. If we go down south, we're going to be subsidizing the hell out of it.
Why is it that there's no ridership down there? Is it just because it hasn't been available? Is it that because we've become too dependent on our vehicles down there? Why the difference there?
Well, I don't know. I don't know why, but I know the north side where I represent, there's a lot of a population there that would take the LRT, or they would take a BRT also. But we're looking at a BRT, and I think it's a lot cheaper to go that way and less expensive, and it does the same function as the LRT.
Does that mean that we need to, Councillor Chu, pay more attention to what's going on Deerfoot? Because that's really the connector between, especially Southeast Calgary and downtown Calgary.
That's right. I used to live down south, and then only one way out is Deerfoot. But however, Deerfoot is under the jurisdiction of the province. Mm-hmm. And let's get back a little bit about the Green Line, you said. And Center Street route has been proven to actually make money for the city. I think it's the only route in the city actually make money. Don't you want to make more money? Mm-hmm. So the question is, as you talk about, $4.6 or $4.9 billion, and get us half of initially what we talk about the Green Line. And now, Councillor Joe Magliocca and Councillor Jody Gondak and I would talk about is BRT. BRT, the way I look at it, Green Line equals people mover, equals LRT, equals BRT. Is all the same. People say, well, we want a track. No, BRT works just fine. You would get those long stretch bus on Center Street, and then we can get people, like you don't have to stop in between until maybe after Beddington and then further north into Joe's area. And I believe that will work. And they only cost 10 to 20% of currently what it was supposed to project it.
Do you think that with the original Green Line proposal that it was too ambitious at the end of the day?
Oh,
well,
absolutely.
See, the thing is that do we really need a Taj Mahal, or you call it a platinum level of service? Probably not. Silver, it can do. And then you heard that there's a Councillor Woolley proposal to kill the arena and put on money. Guess where the money go? All into his area. He wanted everything, spend all the money in his area. What about the north? Let's spend money somewhere you can actually make money. Make money so we can subsidize everybody else.
Did we make a mistake by not I hate using the term moratorium when we have these conversations about new communities, but should we have slowed down our growth outwards to try to make sure that we were servicing areas already existing versus what we seem to be doing now, which is piecemealing together transportation plans or other infrastructure plans for that future development?
Well, I got a lot of development in my area. I got 3 big communities happening, and the levies of all that's going to bring into the city coffers about $200 million for the levies. And it creates tens of thousands of jobs in our community. And there's about 30,000 people that move into Calgary annually. And we got to find houses for these people. And They subsidize. They put in $200 million in levies, and it pays for itself. And it also creates opportunity for the downtown core too. We're getting more infrastructure done with that money also. And
like to further what Joe has said is that the new area is actually way denser than the developed area. Another thing I can't stand, it pissed me right off, is that there's a lot of city council members pitting one against the other. You hear that all the time, especially the mayor. I heard him saying that to people in the urban area, say, see, your money is subsidizing the growth area. It's not true. Councillor Jody Gondak has asked the question. City answered. She has proven that 15% of all the levies in the new growth area is actually fixing, for example, the 14th Street BRT Southwest, the one everybody hated, right? The money actually go in there and everywhere else. What I'm trying to say is that there's only one taxpayer. There's only one pot of the money. Everybody use that pot. Would you, Joe? Would you go? I don't know how many kids you have. Would you tell?
None yet. Hopefully, some down the line, right?
In the future, you have one daughter or one son. Would you tell your daughter that, hey, your brother spent all your money? You pit one against another. Why? That's stupid, most stupid, irresponsible way of building a city or building a home. A city is like home, but way bigger. Stop pitting one against other. Like councillors like myself and Joe Magliocca and others, we never want to do that because we understand we all Calgarian. And stop divide and conquer. It doesn't work. People see through that.
You've segued into a question I was going to ask later on, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Is that especially the pitting back and forth, and I mean, you've been in a couple of doghouses, Councillor Chu, and I'm sure you've had a few of your fellow councillors in your own doghouse as well. Do you worry at all that we are becoming too partisan politics within municipal politics? And I've heard the rumblings of, hey, we're going to put slates of candidates together, and hey, we're almost going to work under a party structure. Does that worry you that there becomes now that split where we could potentially see, quote unquote, two parties bashing it out in council chambers when they're supposed to be representing their constituents? Well,
the way I look at it is that no way. I'm never being any slate and will never be any slate. Calgarian has spoken. We don't want any party. We don't want to be anybody's slate. So that's the way I am. And some people, you probably heard that, so, oh, we support this. I welcome any support. It doesn't matter which side. Right. And then let's go back a little bit on council. Yes, councils sometimes kind of a little bit divided. And thank goodness we don't have everybody agree on everything.
I don't disagree with that.
Could you imagine that? Right? That would not serve no benefit to the citizen of Calgary whatsoever. For example, on the Olympic thing, guess who's the loudest? Drew Farrell, Councillor Drew Farrell and Sean Chu. Almost too extreme, but we work together on issue. That's the key. It's the merit of the issue. That's something we should only focus on. And then back a little bit is that, there's a fight. The mayor shut my mic off 5 times, right? Because he doesn't want to hear what I have to say. But whatever you feel that is.
We're going to continue this discussion in a couple of seconds with the YYC Roundtable. Councillors Joe Magliocca and Sean Chu joining us. If you want to get in some of your questions, by all means, you can text us 403-974-8255. Let's go to helicopter traffic on Calgary today, and it's 4 West District by Truman. Come visit the largest concrete-built condos in the city.
Is curiosity cranked to 11? Calgary Today with Joe McFarland on 770 CHQR.
Just off mic, councillors Joe Magliocca and Sean Chu said, we're flying through this thing. Absolutely we are. And we haven't even touched on half the topics that we could talk about. Very briefly, and we'll probably dive more into this after the 4 o'clock news, but let's go into those budget deliberations because you had the week leading in, which is pretty busy because everybody's kind of staking their claim to what's going to happen. And then you had the week of, and even during the kind of the 11th hour, we were seeing some proposals out there. You too, along with Councillor Jeremy Farkas, came out and said, hey, we should be looking at cuts. Where would you have liked to see cuts?
Well, hey, Joe, that is easy. You know what? At the end of the day, we try to cut and reduce the public engagement communications for 1.2 million. We lost that about 10 to 5. Then we try to reduce the $50 million out of the $100 million Opportunity Calgary Investment Fund, which is the corporate welfare fund. We tried, and we lost 12.3. And then we also try to do a reducing the arts development budget for $5 million. We lost 10.5 also. And the $50 million was lost at 10.5 also. I couldn't believe my fellow councillors did not give us the opportunity to give it to administration and look for $50 million in cuts. Out of $1 billion, you're telling me you can't find $50 million where we would have, the level field would have been no residential taxes going up or business taxes going up. It would have been leveled, and that's where we met with a couple of councillors, and we made this proposal, and they liked it. Then they changed their mind at the end of the day.
I'm kind of not surprised. It kind of hails back to the Bronconnier days where you knew everything was 8.7 or 9.6, right? And here you have 10.5, 10.5, 10.5. So you knew that there was. Did it feel as though you were working against the majority government, so to speak, in a sense?
Yeah. So to further to what Joe has said is that the proposal we made is actually we're not touching the top
Essential
three services the citizen pick: emergency service, 911, and the transportation.
Mm-hmm.
And it would cut somewhere. For example, the arts, they got from last year $6.4 million to $11.4 million. And then we saw in camera session the reason of all the increase. We said no, we wanted this to be public. So it made it public. And guess what? They're actually talking about increasing pay, increasing compensation, and increase on hiring. Oh my God, this day and age, how are we going to tell the thousands of people losing job? By the way, you lost job, that's okay. We're going to have increase, 2 to 3% increase. City Council will try to cut, right? We try the hardest we can. And then somewhere it doesn't hurt people, but cut somewhere we can, but we didn't get support. It's kind of not very good.
What we're asking is just to do a cut. $50 million. You know, we got to start cutting like your own house budget. And I can't believe we even raised taxes. Like in today's day, you know, they say, oh, it's only a cup of coffee or this and that. But, you know, for some families, it's a loaf of bread. It's a decision. Do I buy bread or do I pay my tax increase? Mm-hmm. And I just can't believe it. You know, if we would have did the $50 million cut, we would have been at a neutral for business and non-residential.
And then yesterday, you probably heard about this retirement allowance bonus. And we have sent a message to administration very clearly that we don't want it. What was the recommendation? Oh, let's some people are already there. Let's
grandfather it in.
Yeah. It's like, are you kidding me? And I asked the question. I said, is this written down anywhere in the contract? No. I said, why are we talking about it? I said, well, but unions during the bargaining, they're still going to use that to talk about because that's a historical reason. I say, so as long as we're doing something for a long time, so it's okay. It's just like talking about before. Okay, you have slave before, just because of history, right? So we can have now that day. No, time has changed. Cut that off.
Yeah, we got to cut. We got to start cutting, and we can't just be spending like every year next to $90 million. It's ridiculous. You know, we got to cut our budget. We got to start cutting subcontracting out more work. We should not be in the asphalt business. We should not be in the gravel business. I talked to a guy in my office yesterday. My door is always open to listen to business leaders of Calgary, and he said, Joe, I can save you guys $3 million off the bat just in your parks. And I'm like, go give it to me. So we're doing some couple of demos. We're talking, and the asphalt department, same thing. Our concrete division, like, we should be looking out and subcontracting out more work.
We're going to continue this discussion after the news at 4 o'clock here on the YYC Roundtable on Calgary Today.
on 770 CHQR.
We are continuing the YYC Roundtable, the series once a month. We're aiming for the first Thursday of every month, except for next month because the first Thursday is the 2nd of January, and most of you will all be away on tropical vacations on the taxpayer dime. And all, I'm kidding. So we're going to aim for January 9th, I think, is the next Councillor Roundtable. But let's fire into this one. I know there's a couple of calls. We'll get to those in a second. Are you happy that we finally got around to opening up the conversation at the very least around the tax shift? That we finally are starting to see some movement
I am a
there.
big fan of that, but you know what? I would like to have more support on our proposal of the $50 million where we didn't have to put the burden on anybody. It would have been a flat transition, $50 million, no increase on that. It would have been stable. And we got to get to that 48, 52, like Jody's been saying, a lot of the other councillors. And I agree 100%. But we could have got there a lot easier with a $50 million cut. It's just like your household, Joe. You know, if you want to go down that vacation, a tropical vacation, and you just can't afford it, you're not going to put it on your credit card and pay for it when you get back. That's how I did it in my household. I want to pay it up front. And I'll cut whatever I can cut to make that achievable.
I asked this one off air, and I'll ask it on air as well. Is there any worry from the two of you that we go down a bit of a rabbit hole by cutting $50 million? And the reason being is, let's say in 6 months, provincial government comes back with another budget and says, hey, we're taking even more police revenue or whatever the case may be. And you're left in a lurch where now all of a sudden you are having to cut at the bone for your essential services.
Well, the way I look at it, this is a time to cut. If we cannot do it at this time, we can do it at any other time. For example, we also ask for 5% possibly on wage cuts on the unions. And I believe Joe and I and some other councillor, we also said that, is that, hey, if they want to go on strike at this day and age, go ahead. They will be crucified by the public, right? And we said, please, just take wage cut. There's people emailed us up to 30% wage cut and days off too. Instead of working 5 days, maybe 3 or 4. And everybody, we have to row this boat together in the same direction. I thought unions are all brothers and sisters. You know, at the end of the day, they're not. They all want to cut each other's throat. You know, if you don't want your colleague working next to you, they're going to be laid off. Wouldn't you want to take a 1.5% reduction or not take that raise? You know, they always say we're brothers and we stick together. Well, and sisters. Well, you know what? At the end of the day, they're not. They just look after themselves. And there's another elephant in the room is the defined benefit. We talked about it before. And Joe and I, we are working on a motion to possibly change to a defined contribution. There's something a lot of people talk about it. You guys have a golden pension, this
ticket.
and that, right? So defined contribution is almost the same, but is that you don't get a certain amount of money when you retire.
Right.
Depends how you invest, right? So we probably going to, this motion will come up next year.
Let's go to the phone lines, 403-974-8255. We've got a question for the two councillors, and we're going to start things off. I believe this is Greg. Greg, what's on your mind? What question do you have for the two councillors?
Well, first off, I want to say they're doing a great job, as well as Demong and Farkas, the only 4 that need to stay. But my question is, we hear all this talk, guys, about a organizational review of every department to save money. Is that going ahead, or is that just a pipe dream?
We'll put him on hold for a second and let you answer.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it is a pipe dream, and that's exactly what we're going to start doing, going by department and start cutting some of the unessentials that they don't need.
Councillor Chu?
Yeah, so definitely we have to look at everything, all options on the table, and we don't have choice. In this day and age, we have to do that. Yeah. We have to show people that we actually listen to them, we cared about them, and we're going to look after their purse.
And also, the administration should not give us the budget a week before.
By department.
think I lost Greg there. 403-974-8255. Questions for the councillors. We go to Austin. Austin, what would you like to talk about here with the councillors?
Hi there, folks. I want to start by saying thank you for all the work you guys are doing. Councillor Joe Magliocca, Sean Chu, Jeremy Farkas, and Peter DeMong. I'm a university student, and I look at all the high tax rates and everything that's happening in our city right now, and I'm wondering, is Calgary a place I'm going to want to stay when I finish my degree? And I couldn't tell you, and I know a lot of my friends feel the same way. So what are you guys doing to help keep young folks here in the city?
Well, hey, great question. You know what? We have another election in 2021. That would probably change your mind after that. But you know what? We got to attract more businesses. We need young talent. Right now, we do have the youngest talent workforce in North America. I believe it's the age about 30 to 35. And we're going to keep that dream of yours alive, buddy.
In my opinion, is that we want to keep the tax low. Some people say that Alberta advantage is basically gone, and it's a wrong thing to do. I say, why? That's a good thing to have. Lower tax, if we have the lowest tax, you hear many, the mayor always say, we're the lowest tax in North America. It's not true. When you add up all the other fees and others, like Councillor Keating proved that. Right, he said is actually we're taxed more than the average.
Right. I am curious. Real quick answers. We got to take a quick time out for helicopter traffic, but I want to get a sense here on: do you believe Calgary is the right place to invest in?
It is.
And the reason being, Mary Moran came out and said Wexit weighed in on the decision by one company, and I'd say I think it's more than that. I think it's the geopolitical arguments that you're seeing from province to feds, feds to province, province to municipal, municipal to feds. Like everybody seems to be arguing. So do you still think Calgary is a place of opportunity?
I agree 100%, and the Kenney government has taken the steps to make sure that happens for all of Alberta and including Calgary. He was reducing corporate taxes, and how we're going to attract more businesses here and to invest is lowering taxes, not raising taxes and scaring people away. We got everything down here. We're going to have a new event center. And, we got a beautiful international airport. Got great destinations through WestJet and Air Canada, and that all attracts everybody here too. People don't move to Calgary because we got great roads and great sewer and great water and all that. They come here also for the rest of the entertainment.
Councillors, we're going to take another quick time out and one last kick at the can for the both of you. Let's take a look at helicopter traffic here on Calgary Today. It's for West District by Truman, Calgary's newest and best master plan community.
In between, he's taking the pulse of the city. Calgary Today with Joe McFarland on 770 CHQR.
Into our final segment of episode 2 of the YYC Roundtable featuring councillors Joe Magliocca and Sean Chu. Thanks, guys, for coming in and doing this.
Problem.
First off. Second off, thanks for taking some calls as well. We thought we'd introduce this aspect of it as well and wanted to get to Frank right off the bat here. Frank, what's your question for the councillors?
Question is, the CDHR Institute gave the City of Calgary a D- for their accounts. Do the councillors agree it might be a good idea for each department in the city to produce individual accounts which could be made public and be held at a public forum for scrutiny?
Straightforward and to the point, Frank.
Hey, Frank, great idea. Let's work on something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
For sure. Be transparent.
Well, and you and the three of us were talking during the news there as well about this notion of zero-based budgeting reviews. And it seems to have been an idea that happened for a while and then kind of fizzled out. Is that something that maybe to give the average taxpayer a little bit more of a sense of what we need versus what we want, maybe that's what we need to do?
Well, I think, in my opinion only, is that I think it takes too long to get a result back. I believe that we do about 1 or 2 business units per year, and I think it's too slow. We should do more, definitely.
Through those that you have done, do you find that you're finding savings out of that?
Well, see, the thing is that it's not zero-based budgeting, but just review.
Right.
Okay? And then you have to go through it. And there's some saving and some suggestions. They're good. And But definitely we should do more of those.
Oh, agreed 100%. You know, we do it at our household. We got to do it to City Hall too. You know, the budget review that we do, it's not really functioning great. We got to get in there. We got to tell administration, the bureaucrats, you know what? Hey, listen, here's 5%. We want you to take it out of the budget. You find the deficiencies and then come back and report to us. That's how it should be done because they know where they're. I know the employees. We should have suggestion boxes. We should have stuff like that. I can tell you that we can save more than $50 million. Out of $1 billion, we can save more than $50 million.
See, I hear a lot of people talking about middle management.
Tons.
And then we heard that all the time. You have manager, managing another manager, supervisor, looking after supervisor. That's the middle. We have to do something about.
We got to shrink.
And not the front line. Like we have to tell the administration is that you're going to cut this amount of money, but without hurting the front line. But administration is a bureaucracy. Guess what they do? They're gonna hurt you the most. Yeah. You're gonna get most correspondence, email telling you don't do it. I get it.
You know, whenever we ask for cuts, the first thing they want to cut is frontline services. They play with the heartstrings of the citizens. You know, we don't need to cut essential services. We don't need to cut our 911 transit and police and fire. There's other places we can cut. Our 5% reduction we proposed, it was going to put service back into transit. We're going to put the budget back in for police, fire. There's other places we can find the $50 million.
Councillors, I'm very appreciative of your time. Thanks so much for spending the hour with us on the second edition of the Roundtable. Best of luck throughout your arguments, I'll call them that, around the council table. And have a great Christmas if I don't see you beforehand.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you
Merry
and all
Christmas.
your listeners.
Councillors Joe Magliocca and Sean Chu here on the YYC Roundtable in Calgary today.